You're listening to a Bored to Death Marvelcast, talking all things Marvel and MCU in easily digestible chunks.
Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and other assorted gender assignations. Welcome back to the Bored to Death Marvelcast. I am Jay, being joined by
Chris
and
Zeke,
and we are here to do basically do a little bit of talking about Black Widow and to do a Wrapcast for Loki Season 1.
I do wonder if Marvel will ever end before our lifetime.
Probably
No.
not. It's become an industry in and of itself at this point. They're going to keep doing it for forever.
Although I do have a theory that at some point in time, like, they'll probably have to do, like, a time skip to a certain year, and they'll have to do the 2099 characters.
Oh, I hope that's in my lifetime.
Well, I mean, now that they've basically opened up the multiverse.
Well, in a weird way, the 2099 comics are supposed to take place, like, in the future of, like, the mainline comics.
Right.
But, like, with all the different variations of how the future could go, like, you have the Days of Future Past Future, you have Age of Apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the 2099 one, who knows, like, if, you know, what happened, like, leading up to the 2099 era comics.
Pretty much. And, yeah, multiverse. You know, we were sort of joking back during WandaVision that it was sort of like, multiverse isn't a thing, stop trying to make it a thing.
No,
and then Loki, and then Loki came along.
They have teased the multiverse, but they have not teased the one thing I'm looking for. The Spider-Verse.
Except, with the ending of Season 1 of Loki, with the timeline fracturing into that chaotic spiderweb, cobweb, nebula, everything is canon. Spider-Verse is in that.
Well, they have confirmed that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are coming back for the next Spider-Man
For
film.
Spider-Man No Way Home.
Did they confirm that? Because I swore Toby said he wasn't.
As far as I know, he's still attached to it. I know they have Alfred Molina coming back as Doc Ock. They have
Nice,
Jamie
nice.
Foxx's Electro coming back.
Oh, God.
And they also said that Willem Dafoe was going to be in it, also Norman Osborn.
Yeah, that one broke the
Yes.
thing.
And for the upcoming, obviously for the upcoming Doctor Strange film, yes, they have Sam Raimi directing it, who is the guy who created the Evil Dead franchise. He did the Spider-Man trilogy. He also did a lot of stuff with Bruce Campbell back in like the 90s. He also made his own his original attempt at a comic book style movie universe was Darkman.
Yes, I remember Darkman.
See, you should
I
take...
haven't seen it all the way through, but I know of it.
There's only 3 movies. I think there was a TV series, but I think it only lasted like a season.
You should take with a grain of salt the Spider-Man trilogy. Because remember, it's because of him we have that abomination that we don't speak of in the 3rd movie.
Venom.
We don't speak of him.
Well, that's because
No. It's a Venom variant.
Well,
I'll go with that.
Well, the thing,
Everything now is a variant.
well, unfortunately, Sam
He ate someone's cat.
was literally forced to use Venom. He did not want to use Venom for the 3rd film.
Yeah. It was literally, Sony was like, you're going to put Venom in here. He's like, no. And they were like, you want to make this movie? Put Venom in it.
Because originally he wanted.
Yeah.
I think who he originally wanted in the film was Vulture, Mysterio, and I think Kraven the Hunter. And a lot of the plans that were going to happen for Spider-Man 4. If you want to, I'm going to plug somebody else on this one for this one because he goes into a lot more detail. Go look up the Blockbuster Busters Spider-Man 4 video because he goes into a lot more detail on what they were originally going to do for Spider-Man 4 because a lot of the ideas for that movie ended up in Homecoming.
You know, when in the original Spider-Man trilogy, I kept joking that they should have had Mysterio be just like a throwaway villain like at the very beginning of the movie, cold open thing. You see Spider-Man take him down, takes the fishbowl helmet off, and it's Bruce Campbell.
Well, that was the original idea.
See, yes,
Because
and it would have been so perfect.
Because it was supposed to explain all the different characters that he played in the 3 movies. Because every time you saw him, he was a different person.
Yep.
So the original idea was that he was going to be Quentin Beck.
And well, I just wanted a joke to sort of be like this throwaway gag where knock the fishbowl off. There's Bruce Campbell, and have Spider-Man just look at him. It's like, aren't you that guy that? Yeah, I get that a lot.
But for Doctor Strange and I almost said in the Mouth of Madness. I'm thinking John Carpenter now.
I mean, everybody's going to be making that little slip.
In the Multiverse of Madness, they're trying to make it a straight up horror film.
And I am down for that.
Because they're trying to say, like, that's the only genre that they haven't really tapped into. They kind of tapped into it just a little bit with the first Doctor Strange film, especially with the guy who directed the movie, who actually worked primarily on horror films. He did the Sinister films, and he was also a huge Doctor Strange fan because he read a lot of the comics back in like the 80s and the 90s, back when he was fighting all of like the H.P. Lovecraft style tentacle monsters.
Eldritch horror.
Yeah, stuff like that. So that's basically what they want to go for this one, because a lot of the other Marvel films have tapped into like other genres.
Yep. Heist movies.
The conspiracy theory film,
Spy
which was basically the Winter Soldier film. They just want to go straight to a horror film with this one.
Yep.
So I'm really excited to see where they go with that.
Same. It's like horror is one of those genres. It's like I'm fascinated by it, but the way my brain works, anytime I consume any sort of horror media like that, it lurks in the back of my head for like a month, and it makes it difficult for me to sleep because I know it's going to creep up on me.
What you're saying is after Doctor Strange, we should make Ash constantly tap on your door, and you won't know it's us.
Zeke is referring to the ghost that periodically likes to manifest in our house. We don't know who or what they are. We've just dubbed them Ash because first time they manifested, there was a slight smell of like smoke with no apparent source. And Ash is a nice gender neutral sort of name. Ash already knows not to bother me when I'm sleeping. I once did ask them politely to stop making noise in the hallway when I was trying to sleep one night, and they did.
Are you sure it just wasn't me coming home from work?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you were already home.
Okay.
But I heard like footsteps out in the upstairs hallway.
Okay.
Stop trying to mess around.
I'm trying to wonder if it been me, because I've gone upstairs a couple times to see if
this was like after midnight or something.
See if Sam and the peanut guy was awake, and I got to come upstairs, see the light on. But should I knock? It's past midnight. I probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
Walk back downstairs. So it might have been me.
Okay. Well, regardless, it happened like twice.
I do that from time to time.
Anyway, but
Back to
but
Multiverse.
horror stuff is like, but it's like the creative part of my brain just likes the whole concept, and it's like seeing how it wants to sort of mess with your head in that sort of way. But then at the same time, that creative part of my brain likes to just sort of think about that stuff at night when I'm trying to fall asleep, and then I'm just like.
I mean, if you want like two really good horror films to watch, definitely check out John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness and his In the Mouth of Madness film, because those two, along with The Thing, form essentially what he calls his Apocalypse trilogy, because it's supposed to be his take like on like Lovecraftian horror.
Yep.
Because it turns out he's a huge H.P. Lovecraft fan, and
you'd be hard pressed to find anybody in the horror genre nowadays that has not been in some way influenced by Lovecraft.
Well, each film is essentially different. Like The Thing, the Alien, the whole thing with the Alien, Prince of Darkness, with the Devil, and then the third film, which In the Mouth of Madness, is supposed to be like essentially.
What if Stephen King became a god?
Essentially, what it is, yeah. And apparently, the monsters they had, because apparently the H.P. Lovecraft stories are public domain, so anybody can put out a H.P. Lovecraft book and make money off of it.
Yeah, well, anybody can do it without having to worry about legal repercussions.
Yeah.
Is a better way of putting it.
Okay, yeah, better way of putting it. So I think they said that a lot of the monsters that you saw in like the one chase scene with Sam Neill, like towards the end of the film, a lot of them were based off the actual Lovecraftian monsters. But I've never actually read any of the books before. I can't really confirm that.
I can always lend you the compendium that I have, because I have like the collected works of Lovecraft on my bookshelf, because I'm like I said, I'm fascinated by that stuff. The sort of existential horror of reading this stuff doesn't bother me too much. It's like once it gets like more into like a visual medium, that's when it starts to get in my head way more. But yeah, the multiverse stuff, I'm very curious to see how Multiverse of Madness is going to play up the horror aspect of it. If it's going to be like showing like all the worst timelines, or is it going to show like there are other things besides Eliath out there that eat time or universes or something?
Well, see,
or is it Dormammu gets loose because of this? Or
I mean, like I can't remember off the top of my head in terms of Dormammu whether or not he actually gives a crap about taking over. Essentially, I guess I could call it the Earth Realm, or I'm just Midgard.
We'll just go ahead and call it Earth Realm. It's easier that way.
Or Midgard, if we want to call it that, because I know that Dormammu is a huge threat, and Doctor Strange is basically one of the people who actually fights against him, along with the other like supernatural type characters. Like I think Ghost Rider has fought him also, but I'm not entirely sure. I know.
Could you imagine the Penance Stare on that thing?
I don't think the Penance Stare would work on him
because he doesn't have a soul.
The Penance Stare only works if you have a soul. That's the reason why in the first Ghost Rider film it didn't work on Blackheart until he absorbed that entire town.
San Venganza.
Yeah, and it was like over I think 1,000 souls. And so after that he was
1,000 evil souls.
Yeah, and then after that Ghost Rider was like, I can use the Penance Stare on you now. And therefore burned every single one of those souls, and then
left him catatonic.
Yeah, and then God, I can't remember the devil's name in the Marvel Universe. He shows up.
Mephisto,
thank you. He shows up, and
the guy that we were kept expecting to pop up during WandaVision.
And then Mephisto pops up and says, "Okay, thank you. I'm going to take him back now, and I'm going to take the spirit of vengeance away from you." And that's when Johnny Blaze says, "No, I'm going to use this against you now."
Yeah.
Which obviously, if you've seen the sequel to Ghost Rider,
yep,
then you kind of already know how that goes, because the guy who plays the devil in that is the same guy who plays Steppenwolf in Justice League.
I think I remember hearing that at the time. I was just sort of like, hey, the guy's getting paid from both sides. Why not?
Well, so was Jimon Hansu with both Captain Marvel films.
John. Yeah, he was in both Captain Marvel movies. That's right.
But like in terms of like the them setting up Kang the Conqueror as the new villain, I saw that coming because of Endgame. No, because of Endgame.
Okay. Oh, that's right. I think you were saying that around.
Because the whole time travel aspect, I was like, watch, Kang the Conqueror is going to be the next villain. And
he's going to be the next. He's the next cosmic level threat.
Now, here's the funny thing. Kang was also one of the characters owned by Fox that they never used. So
and now they're opening the door. The forbidden door has essentially been opened. That's how they're probably going to introduce the X-Men and the Fantastic Four into the MCU.
Supposedly the way that they want to introduce the X-Men is because of the snap being used. Because if you remember Rocket, when he was waiting for Thanos to use the Infinity Stones again in Endgame, he said that when Thanos first used the Infinity Stones on Earth, there was like a huge wave of gamma radiation that surrounded the entire Earth, and so that was like the signal. So all he had to do was wait for that.
And then another one happened on the Garden World.
And that's where they knew where to find him. So I'm wondering if whether or not that, like the gamma radiation...
That's an easy way to, explain here's why mutants have suddenly become way more of a thing.
Yeah.
But if they want to sort of jumpstart it so you don't have to wait a generation, for people to be, for mutants to start developing their powers, using somehow folding one of these alternate timelines back into the quote-unquote sacred timeline of the MCU. Because I have a feeling they are eventually going to pare, all that multiverse stuff down so it's not so chaotic.
Yeah, but it's funny because
I don't know that we're ever going to get a full, sacred timeline that's inviolate sort of thing.
No, we probably will.
Well, I mean, they've already said that in terms of, like, let's say the Fox X-Men films, that's their own, where,
Yeah.
like, the Avengers don't exist, all the other teams don't exist, then there's the universe with the Ben Affleck Daredevil in it, that, you know, none of those characters
all
exist.
the standalone Marvel stuff.
Yeah, which I feel like
The
one
Ghost Rider films.
Yeah, stuff like, well, supposedly Ghost Rider was supposed to have a quote-unquote cameo at the end of Punisher Warzone, because Punisher was supposed to have seen a fiery trail caused by a motorcycle, and that was supposed to tease Ghost Rider, because what the original idea was for, like, the darker Marvel characters, like Daredevil, Moon Knight, Punisher, Ghost Rider, they were supposed to be under the Marvel Knights logo. But I think the Marvel Knights thing kind of went away after Warzone came out.
I think so. They sort of decided to go darker with that stuff, and that's when they created like the Max stuff, like Punisher Max, and similar titles under like a.
Well, I'm talking about the movies.
Okay, well, the movies.
I just think because that Punisher didn't do well, in my opinion. I like
Punisher Warzone.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I thought that one was a lot better than the previous one.
I liked the Thomas Jane.
No, so did I. I like Thomas Jane as the Punisher, but I feel like Warzone was a lot better.
The thing I didn't like about Warzone is that they basically grabbed a bunch of characters from the Punisher Max comics, and then they just sort of like completely neutered them a lot. Like in the Punisher Max comics, there was one of the characters that was in like the first volume of it was this guy called Pitsy, who was a real mean, nasty son of a bitch. He was basically the muscle for the big bad in that storyline, and Pitsy managed to go toe to toe with Frank Castle, and like shot him practically point blank with a shotgun, and Frank managed to get somewhat out of the way, but it blew away one of Frank's ribs.
Ooh.
And he's like beating the hell out of Pitsy, like rips out one of his eyes, and Pitsy basically just spits in his face, and and his fingers got broke. He just snaps his fingers back into place and just bring it on. Frank tackles him out of a window. He gets impaled on the spikes on top of like an iron fence, and Frank uses him as a cushion to land on it. So he like drives him onto this thing. Frank goes back into the building where he's fighting off a bunch of other guys. Pitsy somehow breaks the part of the fence that he's impaled on off. Comes staggering into the building, still trying to fight him. Frank blows away most of his face, and he still keeps going until he finally just drops. He like took a ridiculous amount of punishment, and in Punisher Warzone, Frank just blows his head off in one shot while he's just sat at a table.
So it's like the cops trying to shoot that guy high off of the bath salts down in Florida.
Sure.
Where it's just like, shoot him in the head!
Yeah. Or like Boris the Bullet Dodger.
No, I remember this one, I think it was a Punisher comic where he was fighting Wolverine. He took a shotgun, shot Wolverine.
I know the one you're talking about.
Point blank range in the... No, he shot him at point blank range in the face and like took all the flesh off.
So you just saw the metal skull.
And then he shot his nuts off afterwards. And Wolverine is literally just crawling along the ground. And then Punisher shows up with a steamroller and then runs him over with it. And the entire time Wolverine's just going, Frank, don't do it. and Punisher just runs his ass over.
Like Judge Doom and freaking Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah. But Grant, I don't think that's the worst thing that's ever happened to Wolverine.
No.
But
I'm still sad that we didn't get Barracuda in the Punisher Netflix series.
Rumor has it that Marvel does want to bring those particular characters with those actors back. I don't really know if it's going to be all of them or not, because supposedly they want to put like Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist under the Heroes for Hire banner.
Yeah.
But that would also require Colleen Wing and Misty Knight. Also.
I mean, it's not that difficult for them to introduce those characters.
But supposedly,
when they say,
Heroes for Hire?
No, not Heroes for Hire. I don't mind Heroes for Hire. It's,
because I kept calling it...
What's his name?
Danny Rand?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the actor who played him?
We want everybody back besides him.
Well, supposedly the thing about the actor who played Danny Rand was that he's two different things were said. He was told not to practice martial arts for it, and then the other thing that was said was that he said that he didn't want to. So it's really conflicting on what was actually said in terms of that. But I kept saying it like during Luke Cage, like the whole barbershop, and then when the owner for that was killed, but then Luke took it over, and then in season 2, it was basically turned into like a merchandise stand for Luke. I was like, watch, season 3 comes around, that's going to be turned into the Heroes for Hire place. And then the one episode of season 2 when Danny Rand shows up and the two of them teamed up. Now, granted, the two of them worked great together. Like you had Luke Cage essentially being like the muscle and the shield, and then Iron Fist would hide right behind him, charge his fist up, go around, and then just start punching dudes.
I just remember the one thing that made me so happy during the Defenders.
Which is?
You're staying here, Danny. I'm going out there. You're staying here. I'm going to fight you. I'm a boxer. You're a martial artist. How is he winning? Oh, wait, it's Daredevil. And then he punches Luke Cage, and Luke Cage is like, really? Really?
Oh, yeah.
Danny, down he does just beating the crap out of him.
Danny just tries using all of his like normal non-powered up attacks.
And it's
on
like you're trying that on Luke Cage.
Well, he doesn't know who Luke Cage is. This is supposed to be them meeting him up for the first time. And then he charges his fist up, goes over, and actually punches Luke so hard in the face that he goes flying into basically a metal door.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, like supposedly Marvel wants to bring them into like the main, because they were supposed to be in Infinity War.
No, in Endgame.
No, in Infinity War.
Was it Infinity War or
yes,
was it Endgame?
Infinity War, because the Russos wanted them for Infinity War, but then they were like, we kind of already have too many characters in this. So
I
mean, it would have been perfect to throw them in during the Battle of Earth in Endgame.
But it's okay.
I'm sorry, but I think they would have gotten killed.
It's okay, because now we have Daredevil supposedly coming in Spider-Man. It's fine.
Yeah, because Charlie Cox has it in his contract that he has to be in a Marvel movie if they want him in the film. I think Spider-Man 3 is probably going to be the best thing because Peter's going to need a lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay, we got him, it's going to be fine.
But then
the only other person I could have seen hired as a lawyer for him, granted, Matt Murdock is better, is Jennifer Walters, She-Hulk.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep, I forgot. That's true.
Yeah, I forgot that she's also a lawyer.
I mean, that's where most of her titles have basically gone in more recent years. They've sort of leaned away a little bit from going out and smash stuff, and more just sort of like, I'm a lawyer. I can also kick your ass, but I prefer to do it in the court of law. But we sort of went off on a little bit of a tangent.
We did all multiverse. It's fine.
Yeah,
So
this is, I mean, it's a Wrapcast, which means it's more or less a Ramblecast. So hey.
But like, all right. So I gotta ask you guys this: what was your favorite moment or your favorite episode for Loki?
Episode 5.
The one with the
Oops, all Lokis.
Yes.
Come on, tell me that wasn't a great episode.
I'm trying to remember,
That was the one where they're like in the void and he meets all the other Lokis.
Like
there's
classic
Kid Loki,
I forgot
classic
that,
Loki,
I forgot Loki was only 6
alligator
episodes.
Loki,
Yeah.
I forgot it was only 6 episodes. Dang.
Black Loki, and then you had President Loki.
Yep.
What the hell's an alligator doing in here?
What was his problem? He ate
the wrong neighbor's cat, which implies it wasn't because he ate the cat. He ate the wrong cat.
Well, here's the thing, though. We also got to remember the surprise cameo that was in that episode. Throg.
Oh yes, Throg. You remember? You may not remember that because if you're having trouble remembering the episode.
Was that
Do you
the
remember
little guy, the little Thor in the
in the glass jar?
Yep, I remember
That was
Throg.
Throg. And yes, that was Chris Hemsworth voicing him.
Quote unquote voicing him. I just like the idea that they brought him in. Well, I suppose it was more what they probably just did was they had him in the booth to record dialogue for What If.
And then
And then they were like, hey, while we've got you.
we need you for this episode of Loki. But see, the thing that kind of that's actually really funny about that scene to me is the fact that he is mere inches from Mjolnir. But Mjolnir's like normal size.
It's not going to matter. Once he grabs it, you know, he proves himself worthy and just he becomes normal size again.
Oh, God, that would actually be pretty cool to see Throg, Alligator Loki, and Spider-Ham.
Yes.
Oh my God. I don't know. I didn't really watch Loki for the Loki aspect. I watched Loki just to see him act.
Yeah. Tom Hiddleston is a fantastic
because
actor.
I feel like
two people that I would just sit back.
Him and Owen Wilson.
No, actually no. My second one isn't Owen. Guy who does Gregory House.
Hugh Laurie.
Hugh Laurie. Those two actors.
Yeah, Hugh Laurie is a very good actor.
They can sit there and act the lifestyle of a pile of shit, and they'll make it interesting somehow.
Mm-hmm.
It's like as for a favorite part of Loki, I would have to say my favorite part was them trying to save themselves from the ship.
Oh, when they were trying to outrun the moon crashing down.
There's either that one or when
that was a good episode.
Loki,
that was a good episode.
It's still the same episode, but
where Loki was essentially drunk and singing in Asgardian.
Yes, and then they launched him out. They launched him out the window. That was funny as hell.
Yep.
Yeah, that was one of. But I feel like episode 5 had the most Easter eggs in it.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you had the Thanos copter.
The Thanos copter.
There was the Thanos copter. There was the what was it? The Living Imperium, I think.
Living Tribunal.
Living Tribunal. The statue of the character's head. You also had Yellow Jacket's helmet.
A giant.
A giant Yellow Jacket helmet.
Another thing, the Avengers Tower that you can see in the background when Loki first wakes up in the void in the stinger from the previous episode.
Yeah.
Somebody actually pointed out online that while it's the same like profile as Avengers Tower, the name on the side of it was actually different. I forget what it was, but the company that is listed there is a company that in the comics was run by Kang.
I know the company I was talking about, but I can't think of the name of it.
Something Chinese, I think.
Because
King,
I know that because Kang is technically a human.
Yes,
but he's from like
it's 31st century.
Yeah, it's kind of like Reverse Flash. If you take away the Speed Force, but you let him keep the time traveling aspect, and it has giant ship shaped like a sword.
Yeah.
Although I don't think they're gonna. I highly doubt they're gonna let him have that. They might give him a ship, and
well, I mean, we'll see when either in season 2 of Loki or whenever he starts showing up in some of the movies. I mean, he's gonna be in Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania.
Yeah, I was about to point that out. Yeah, he's supposed to be in that.
Because they'd already confirmed that it was going to be Jonathan Majors, and that he was listed as Kang. So when he popped up in episode 6 of Loki, a lot of people that recognized who he was, I didn't know, who he was, or that he had already been confirmed as Kang and something else. When he popped up there as He Who Remains, it was just like, oh my god!
So I'm honestly wondering if whether or not they're going to also introduce the Fantastic Four during Phase 4.
I mean, they teased it very heavily during the big Marvel Welcomes You Back to the Movies trailer, where they dropped all the titles that they have release dates for, and it was like at the tail end of it, they do like the Marvel logo, and then you see like a flash of the four pop up there in exactly the same sort of style as the Fantastic Four logo. It's like, come on.
The only thing
admit that you're doing it.
The only thing that I kind of request that they do for this film, skip the origin story.
Yeah. I mean, I'm down with them skipping origin stories for most of the superhero things, or at least get it under like 5 minutes. Maybe stick it during the opening credits thing. You just sort of recap it sort of in the background.
Kind of like what they did with the Incredible Hulk film, where you just kind of like saw snippets of how he got irradiated.
It's like, so you didn't have to go through the whole boring process of it all. It's just like, this is what happened. He's on the run. Thunderbolt Ross is chasing him. Boom! There you have the origin story.
And for this one, like, I don't care if they decide to go the classic route, the gamma rays from space, or if they want to do the whole dimension thing like from the Ultimate Comics, because that's supposed to be how they got their powers in the Ultimate Universe. And they also said in the Ultimate Universe that each member of the Fantastic Four represents a different element. Like Sue Storm is air,
Reed Richards is water. Johnny Storm is obviously fire, and then Ben Grimm is earth.
Yeah.
And yeah, they sort of touched on that a bit in the I think they did that similarly in Ultimate version as well.
I gotta say this: I want Michael Fassbender for Doctor Doom.
I mean, sure, why not? It would be freaking hilarious. But if you can't get him, who would you cast as Victor Von Doom?
Oh God. That's the problem. He's literally the only choice that I have right now because he's already done Magneto, so he doesn't need to do Magneto. They can find somebody else. In fact, I heard a rumor that they're talking about having two black guys playing Professor X and Magneto. Which, if you look at the reasons who the two characters are based off of, it would make perfect sense.
Yeah,
because they're based off of Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X.
Yeah.
But I mean, for Doctor Doom, Fassbender is literally my only choice for that role. For Sue Storm and Reed Richards, John Krasinski and Emily Blunt.
Yes.
They are literally my only choices for that role.
Then who do you cast as Johnny Storm?
Zac Efron. He's literally like, I've heard some people say that they want him for it, and I kind of like went and took a look at him. I was like, I can see him as Johnny Storm. Ben Grimm.
Oh.
Just get Michael Chiklis back.
Yes.
Is that the guy from the Shield?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
the guy who played Ben Grimm in the first Fantastic Four.
But they can like, if they can find a way to make him work in a suit again, great. If not CGI, I'm fine with either one because I
mean, you've already done the CG effect with Mark Ruffalo and the Hulk.
Yeah.
Literally, just do the same thing with Michael Chiklis.
Well, hopefully it looks a lot better than the Fan Four Stick thing.
Yeah.
Who was naked.
Well, yeah. But yeah, Loki, I like that they were able to, in an intelligible, a very easy to understand way, introduce the whole concept of like the, sort of retouched on time travel, alternate timelines / multiverse, and introduced like everything with regards to the TVA and He Who Remains / Kang the Conqueror. In a way that made sense, and it's not just sort of like wait, what? You're hurting my brain. They kept it very simple and easy to understand.
So how did the two of you react when you saw the three robots that were supposed to be like
the timekeepers?
Yes.
I mean, when the timekeepers first showed up there, I'm like I at that point I was already like, this isn't they're not going to like kill them off right here, and as soon as like or something's going to happen and it's going to turn out nope, because there were still 2 episodes left. Confronting them in episode 4 like that, it's like, unless you go in a completely out of nowhere direction with this, it's they're not gonna there's something else going on. And then when she like cuts the head off and you hear and there was like sparks, I was like, okay, so they're robots. Well, granted, they'd already sort of surprised me when Mobius got pruned earlier in that episode. I was like, all right, I'm a bit surprised. And then towards the end of the episode, suddenly Loki gets pruned, and that's when I was like, okay. In the moment, I was like, one of 2 things is going to happen here. Either A, because the series is titled Loki, and they've established that Sylvie is Loki, just a variant, and the series is now about her, or Loki's not really dead, and he's just been sent somewhere else. So I wait, and then the stinger happened. Lo and behold, he was sent somewhere else. I was like, okay, there you go. I wasn't like, you're not going to kill off Tom Hiddleston. I was like, this was a bold decision. Let's see where this goes.
I mean, they did it in Infinity War.
Yeah.
And they sort of did it in Dark World.
Yeah.
Only for him to turn up.
Well, yeah, the Dark World one. Yeah, I suspected it wasn't that he was not dead, and then sure enough. But Infinity War, at that point, I was just sort of like, okay, where are you going with this? And then it's like, nope, he's dead. Wow.
Zeke, what about you? When they showed the 3 robots, did you think that's where it was going to go?
With the timekeepers?
keep in mind, like I said, I wasn't watching it for Loki. I was watching it to see the acting.
He was watching it for Tom Hiddleston, not for Loki.
I mean, yeah, it was an interesting aspect, but I wasn't really invested that much into the... Because you gotta keep in mind, the Multiverse has kind of screwed me over multiple times.
Mandarin, Taskmaster, who else?
But what's going on with Mysterio's, Multiverse.
Oh, yeah,
Multiverse.
Well, yeah, I mean
now Multiverse is my brain's like, it's fake. They're gonna come out. That didn't happen.
Yeah, and then WandaVision came along. We were all like, multiverse, and then it's just like, nah. And then literally the first like couple episodes of Loki, it was just it was like they were literally just sort of being like, stop, multiverse isn't a thing. Stop trying to make multiverse a thing.
And then
we
what
have a whole
episode?
we have a whole police force that is in place to stop the multiverse from happening.
Yeah, like really,
And
my whole.
Now you have the multiverse. Are you happy?
No, because I know it's not gonna happen. It's a fake. It's a keychain. Until they sit there and go, here it is. We have to deal with it now.
And you literally don't think that's what happened at the end of season 1 of Loki.
You literally see everything just like splintering off because
see
he
everything
said a multiversal war.
Yes, but he also has now entered a frame of area where they don't know about the multiverse still.
Like the timeline is now. Yeah, they went past the threshold where he's like, I don't know what's going to happen now.
Like they don't know. He doesn't know. Like there's not like, hey, when Loki came out, like there's multiple people going to happen, multiple attacks. Who are you? The reset button has been hit. Until we have, I'm holding on. Like I said, I've been teased. I've been burned too many times
With them teasing multiverse.
And you know how I feel about the multiverse. I want the multiverse. I love the multiverse. I want it to happen. It's my precious. And the thing is, they wiggled the keys in front of me enough. Now, until the keys touch my hand, I don't believe it.
And they let them go into your hand.
Yes, I won't.
It's not just a case of like in a yoink.
Because I foresee like my brain.
Got it.
Yep.
My brain is literally sitting there going, they're going to somehow fix this in the first 5 minutes.
They're not going to do it that. They're not going to do it that quickly. Because they have a second season of Loki in the works right now.
And it's literally the only one that's getting a second season too.
Oh yeah.
Well, What If could get a second season. What If is like the only other Marvel Plus series, because that's just what I'm going to call it for ease of saying. It's like the only other series I could see getting multiple seasons.
Yeah, but let's see where that one goes.
This is true.
I'm holding off until it happens. So the time guys, the robots.
You were just like, eh.
I mean, it was a cool twist. We kind of see it coming because it's like all powerful beings who manipulate things. Beings.
And the middle one is
if
made.
you're that powerful, anything that we've seen, if you're that powerful and you have multiple people, someone gets greedy and kills the other two.
And that's literally what He Who Remains said happened in his backstory.
So literally, when they're like, "Hey, there's 3 of them, and there's 3 of them there," I'm like, that's not gonna be it. There's something behind door number 1. So I kind of felt like it was,
Yep. But yeah, Loki introduced a whole bunch of stuff into the MCU. The multiverse being one of them. If the multiverse lasts longer than that, I think we're not going to get it all sort of zip down back into one timeline. But I think the sheer chaos of it is going to get reined in. So you have multiple branches, but not like to the chaos that's been unleashed.
as long as they don't do what DC did, which I respect them for what they did, but God
What,
bless
the New 52 stuff?
Well, not only just that, I want to put comic book into the effect. Because if we're going comic book way, they're probably, Marvel's going to probably do what they did with the comic books. You had Ultimate Timeline and Normal Timeline. There was an event that the Ultimate Timeline got erased. And the characters that were popular...
No, that's not what Ultimatum was.
Oh, okay.
The characters that were popular got shifted into the original timeline from their plans.
They got sort of folded into it.
Well, what happened was Galactus, the main Galactus, like the one giant one that we're all familiar with, found his way into the Ultimate Universe. And the Ultimate Universe already has its own version of Galactus.
I remember.
So he managed to find his way into that universe, but because of this happening after the events of Ultimatum. Of course, the X-Men at this point in time are gone. The Ultimates are, for the most part, they're gone. And a lot of characters were killed off.
Mm-hmm.
So not a whole lot of people are around to help defend against Galactus. One of those
literally
people,
an outside context problem.
one of the people who would have been there to defend against him, but unfortunately he kind of went a little crazy, was Reed Richards. Reed Richards is the one who essentially creates the Ultimate Nullifier to stop Galactus. And because he kind of went a little crazy, he formed the Future Foundation, which was created out of
he went full evil.
Oh yeah. And so what happened was Sue Storm literally trapped him inside of a bubble, about literally the size of a bowling ball, because she knew that it would fit him and that he wouldn't be able to break out.
That's a stretch.
So he's essentially imprisoned in that. So he was not around to help stop Galactus.
Yeah.
So a lot of those characters, like Miles Morales and a lot of surviving characters, ended up in the Prime
In
Marvel
616.
in the Prime Marvel universe.
Which I'm fine with this. DC did Crisis of Infinite Earth. Now keep in mind, I'm not talking about comic books, because if I was, I'll be talking about that stuff. We're going to stick with the TV show.
The Arrowverse.
The Arrowverse. They merged everything together into one universe, one timeline. Cool. But then they said, hey, this timeline over here still exists, this timeline over here exists. So if Marvel wraps up two of the universes into one, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
They do 3, okay. And now if they go all the way in, there's following back up with Multiverse of Madness.
I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen with the multiverse, but I do think they're going to pull an Ultimate Marvel sort of thing, and they're going to take aspects from some of the more popular alternate timelines, and we'll try to fold them into the MCU.
Kind of want to see a Fortnite thing. So Fortnite has brought cartoon characters in with their original characters. I want to see them bring in, if they fold the universe in, bring cartoon Miles Morales into the universe.
Are you talking about the one from Into the Spider-Verse?
Yes! Bring them in so
Yes.
he looks
Okay. Yes. And Spider-Gwen.
Yeah, but they look cartoony out of the thing, and they look out of place, but no one else notices it.
You know what? If you're gonna do that, bring all the Spider friends from Into the Spider-Verse in there. You get Miles, you get Peter B. Parker, you get Spider-Gwen, Spider-Ham, Spider-Man Noir.
But they have to
Petra.
have it so those specific characters look cartoony instead of having real life people. So they don't look like they mesh the universe, but no one else in the universe realizes it.
It's literally just us, the audience, are the ones noticing the animation style.
Yes.
Everyone else just treats them like they're completely normal. Kind of like how everyone treated Spider-Man Noir completely normal, despite the fact that he is literally monochrome, because his world has no color in it.
That's why he was so interested in the Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
You've got the one thing though. Why is there a thing of wind? You know when he's doing his speech?
Oh yeah, that's right. The wind. Well, yeah. Why is your coat flapping in the wind? We're underground.
But yeah, that's what I want.
Spider-Ham, of course, just full cartoon logic.
Yeah, that'd be so awesome to see that.
Especially when he dropped the anvil on Scorpion's head.
Oh my god. Yeah, back to the what was the question?
Yeah, we were
Back to Loki.
Loki, yeah, just sort of Loki and the multiverse stuff in general.
Oh, one of the things that had me laugh in it was when he was looking for the Tesseract, and he opened up the drawer,
and he finds just all these other infinity stones,
and there's 6 time stones in there, 2
and
soul
they're literally
stones.
just paperweights. In the
Yeah,
TVA.
because apparently magic does not work.
Well, they're not magic precisely, but you got all that phenomenal cosmic power, literally in an itty bitty living space.
Quite literally, it's in a drawer.
Yep.
And he's like,
in the
what are you
mail
doing,
cart,
he's like, what are you doing with a drawer full of infinity stones? And the guy's like, oh,
we get these all the time. Some of us use them as paperweights.
I'm pretty sure.
I feel sorry for that guy though, because we now know he's a variant of some guy that just got picked up by the TVA, and they essentially mind wiped him. So he thinks that he's just lived his whole life in the TVA.
One bad day.
I mean, not all of them are necessarily one bad day. But because Hunter B20, you know, the chick, you know, when she, you know, when Sylvie, like, you know, enchants her, and then when she grabs Sylvie, takes her back to the Roxanne apocalypse thing in the rain, and she asks, and Sylvie enchants her again to help her see her whatever memory that was, and she's just sort of like, I look happy. It's just sort of like, fuck, dude.
It's kind of like the plot device, or I'm just going to call it the MacGuffin in Black Widow. Yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it.
Well, I mean, let's go ahead and get to it, because as I've been saying, you know, Kang is now the next cosmic level threat in the MCU.
Oh, and they did confirm in the comics that Kang is actually more powerful than Thanos. He actually has killed Thanos.
I mean, with that level of power, it's sort of not surprising. But something else that's been going on, that's been happening in these early Phase 4 properties, is they've been starting to set up the next global level threat, you know, as opposed to cosmic, which is what I'm going to essentially call the Dark Avengers. With Valentina, the Contessa, we saw her turn up in Falcon and Winter Soldier and recruit John Walker to become U.S. agent.
Which I was already calling him U.S. agent from the beginning.
Yes.
I was like, no, that's U.S. agent.
Yes. Hashtag not my cap. And then
the face!
Yeah, the face.
But then he grew the facial hair out and he kind of looked a little bit better.
A little bit.
Just a little bit.
A little bit. But then she turned up in the stinger of Black Widow to recruit Yelena. Well, she's already been recruited, but basically to give her next assignment, which is, hey, you're going to be in the Hawkeye series.
Here's your contract. Please sign here, 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 and here. And thumbprint there.
But that's the thing, you know. So now, you know, she's got essentially a Captain America and a Black Widow. It looks like Valentina, you know, and the new Hydra organization that she is presumably in charge of are gathering their own versions of the Avengers together. You know, so it's like they'll probably get their hands on some sort of Iron Man style tech.
Well, that's what Armor Wars is probably going to be.
That's
Because
probably-
Armor Wars is supposed to be... It's supposed to have War Machine as the lead.
All right, I'm down for seeing more Rhodey. They'll presumably want to get their hands on some sort of Gamma mutant. And let's see, who do we know that's a Gamma mutate that's still alive in the MCU?
Abomination, because he is in the trailer for Shang-Chi.
But the best one would be taking General Ross's anger for the Hulk.
If
Making
if
him
William Hurt wasn't as old as he was, I'd be down for seeing for Red Hulk.
See, the thing is that they wouldn't need him to do like the whole mocap stuff. They can bring in Mark Ruffalo to do that, or God forbid,
Or get somebody else to just do the mocap for it. Just to completely disguise the fact that it's
all you gotta do
William
is
Hurt.
facial recognition on top of the motion capture that he has.
well, they could literally do like it's like with
Well, but here's the thing. MCU has already proven that they are willing to take known characters from the canon and make it so that they are someone else. Taskmaster is a perfect example.
See, I kind of have an idea for that on how they could make Taskmaster the Taskmaster that we all know and love from the comics. Because Tony Masters in the comics was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent.
Okay.
So they could just say that he somehow got his hands on the Taskmaster technology. He already had the ability to
Right.
remember stuff.
Mhm.
He doesn't really need the technology to help him remember it, but he just uses it. Like he just takes it, kind of like the same way like how John Walker got Cap's shield.
Mm.
You know, like it was essentially like either given to him or he just takes it, but he doesn't need the chip thing in the back of his neck.
But here's the thing. I'm just like, they've already got a Taskmaster that is very formidable by herself. It's like, yeah, she's had her the control that Dreykov had over her has been broken, but we don't know what's going to happen with her necessarily. It could be once she's sort of gotten over the trauma and is finally able to make her own choices, she could be like, I am a killing machine, and go back to being that, maybe even for Hydra.
Ooh, no, because a lot of things, if you look at the Black Widow stuff, a lot of that, the science stuff, was AIM.
Okay, but AIM, presumably got dismantled at the end of Iron Man 3. But
So
the
Hydra-
tech is still in the It's still in the wild.
Technically, AIM and Hydra hate each other.
Okay.
That was saying,
No. You know who I could see taking over AIM?
Hmm.
MODOK. Because MODOK technically is the head of AIM.
yep.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, I know how everybody feels about the game, but I feel like the way that they portrayed MODOK, and that was probably the best.
In Marvel's Avengers.
Yes, it's
Square
would,
Enix
would
game?
end up probably being the best way to bring him into the MCU.
I kind of agree.
Because where you see him throughout the game, you see him
Gradually
slowly turning into MODOK.
Mhm.
With the giant chair and everything, because I don't think the way that we all know how he actually looks would translate very well into the MCU, but the way he looked in the Avengers game, that's literally the best way he could be portrayed in the live
Fair
action
enough.
movie.
But I do think that Valentina is going to, as Madame Hydra or whatever they end up dubbing her in the MCU in the future, she's going to be the global level threat with her Dark Avengers or whatever her little group of killers ends up being called, because she's got a Cap, she's got a Widow, she's going to just sort of keep collecting people.
Well, in the case of Taskmaster for the comics, I think he was recruited by Hydra at some point in time to train their soldiers.
Okay.
So I could definitely
But
see that.
I'm just saying, I understand what you're saying and how they could introduce Tony Masters.
Well, not necessarily.
or make a Tony Master style Taskmaster, but I'm just they already have a Taskmaster who never lost. She didn't lose any of the fights that she was in Black Widow. The final fight she had with Natasha at the end essentially ended in a draw because she stood down after she got the gas in the face.
No, but what I was gonna say was she could still technically be Taskmaster for Hydra, and be the one who essentially trains the new troops.
Yeah.
Because again,
Sorry, Zeke has something.
No, he can finish.
No, because I was gonna say because that's what happens with Taskmaster in the comics is he does get recruited, so they could still work it in with her,
Maybe.
with this character. Now,
if he becomes the next Taskmaster, if she dies.
Yes. Because it's kind of like Dr. Poison in Wonder Woman.
Mm.
So in DC, there are two Dr. Poisons. There's a male and there's a female one. Well, in the comics, the male was the original one and the female was the second one.
Yep.
So for the movies, if they ever decide to bring in another Dr. Poison, it could be the male version. All they do is they just reverse the order that they had appeared in.
Could be, but I'm just saying there's no reason to make the male Taskmaster, as it is right now. Apart from appeasing, people, and some grognards online who are just how they made Taskmaster a woman, blah. Because there are probably some of those idiots online who are saying
Yeah, I've
that.
seen them.
And if you are one of those idiots and you happen to be listening to this thing, yes, you are an idiot. Fuck off.
And
So-
all fan base, it's just dropped by 2.
I don't know that there are many people, listening.
If
to
you
it that
disagree, then you disagree. That's your opinion.
So I decided to do this as a random while you guys talk, because like I said, I ain't going to have much to say.
Yeah,
Dark Avengers member.
yeah.
And I decided to look it up. Miss Marvel, Moonstone, Scarlet Witch, actually apparently the purple hair, her name is Victoria Hand.
No, Victoria Hand is a different character.
Oh.
Valentina, in Julie Louis-Dreyfus's character, she gave her full name, and that name in the comics is Madame Hydra.
But the one that makes me very interested, because obviously there's Norman Osborn, Bullseye.
Besides that, I think they've already done Victoria Hand in the MCU in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Probably.
But not canon. They've always announced that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not canon.
Okay.
But here's what makes me very interested. Cause
It was at one point, but anyway.
Norman Osborn, Venom, which I already know that's not going to happen. But the very bottom one, Matt Gargan, was part of the Dark Avengers.
Yeah, Matt Gargan was Venom.
So you actually have him in prison, and Spider-Man 3 is around the corner.
But you also know who who else was in the Dark Avengers was Bullseye.
Yeah, I mentioned Bullseye.
Yeah, because Bullseye was their Hawkeye.
They always
So-
had a Hawkeye too.
Huh?
That Hawkeye was part of the group as well.
Clint Barton is?
It just says Hawkeye.
Well,
Let's see.
regardless, it's going to be interesting to see where a lot of this Phase 4 stuff is going to go with what characters and such they're going to introduce, along the way. I do think Valentina's Dark Avengers or whatever they're going to end up being. I do think that's what she's doing, is that she's just gathering her own like Avengers force together in secret and in the shadows kind of thing, and then presumably there'll be some sort of new Avengers with whoever's left to take up the Avengers mantle versus the Dark Avengers sort of thing. Maybe some of them end up switching from one side to the other, because Yelena, I feel like is going to become the new Black Widow for the new Avengers.
No, they've said that she is going to be the next Black Widow.
Yes, but there are plenty of other widows that could step up to be the evil widow for Valentina.
But did you hear who the new Hawkeye is going to be after Clint? It's Haley Steinfeld.
Okay, I don't know.
She was the girl from Bumblebee.
Okay.
She's also the person who voices Gwen Stacy in Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
So she does have
Spider-Gwen is already going to be in the MCU. Hey.
In a way.
No. It's a variant.
a blonde-haired
Just like
Spider-Man.
not Pietro in WandaVision. That's just a variant.
all that for a boner joke.
Yeah, but it was no. He's a variant of Quicksilver. Literally, it's now canon because the way they opened up the multiverse, everything is canon. Everything.
That means. Oh God, I don't want to see the Four-stick Fantastic Four.
I'm not saying that they need to bring everything into the MCU, but I'm just saying it's out there in the multiverse.
God. I want to sit there. If it comes on DVD, I want to sit there and have to pause. We're going to do what they do with Flash. Remember when they did Flash and he's going through the tunnel and you see the different screens show up in this Time Force?
Was that supposed to be when
Speed Force? You mean
Speed Force?
Was that supposed to be like when he sees the multiverse?
Yeah, because remember he was doing. That was back when they did Flashpoint in the TV show.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but
They had like a tunnel and they showed different flashes from different universes, and it's like, yeah, you're gonna something's gonna happen when you're going down this tunnel of the multiverse, and you see that Fantastic Four, and the Wellek of Knowledge yells, "No!"
Fox butchered that movie so bad.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for everybody who was involved in it. Josh Trank he actually has denounced that film.
The worst part about it is it wasn't.
I just want him to make Chronicle 2.
It wasn't a bad movie if you took out the name Fantastic Four.
It's good if you look at it strictly as a sci-fi film, but as a superhero film based off of an established comic book superhero team, no.
Like I said, if you took out Fantastic Four, you would have been fine with it.
Yeah. If it was not a Fantastic Four film, it had nothing to do with the Fantastic Four film, I'd have been like, you know what, this movie's actually really good. Had the Sky Portal shit thing that was a trend at the time going on, whatever. Everything was good, action was good, story was good. I would have been fine with it, but because it was a Fantastic Four film, not very good.
Yeah.
And the fact that Sam has the steelbook for it, I said, you paid money for that?
Well, that's just Sam.
And
Sam loves to collect steelbooks.
And granted, he has Green Lantern, both versions of the film, the extended cut and the theatrical cut. I like Green Lantern. I'm sorry, I thought it was a pretty good superhero flick. Ryan Reynolds probably wasn't the best choice to play Hal Jordan, because Hal Jordan is actually a very serious character. He probably would have been better off playing like Guy Gardner. But for the most part, but for the most part, it was a good superhero film. Right? Everything about it was pretty much spot on in terms of the mythos with the Green Lantern. Well, not really the mythos with the Green Lantern, but what the Green Lantern Corps is, Sinestro, blah blah blah, all those characters.
But yeah, I'm trying to think what else to sort of touch on, but one of the things, and we sort of talked about this last night after we watched Black Widow, is that Dreykov was a was a good villain in that he had no redeeming qualities.
No, he really didn't. Like, there was no reason for you to feel pity for the guy being killed.
Yeah, and
The guy was a
that's
piece of
fine.
shit.
It's like, yes, they've had plenty of villains in the MCU who have had some humanizing elements to them. Eric Killmonger, number one.
Now, granted, you kind of got to feel bad for him for just one part, though. Was when he was talking about how he had to put a chip in the back of his daughter's head.
Yeah, but then we saw what he did with his daughter once he put that chip in the back of her head.
Yeah, turn her into the most dangerous person on the planet until Deadpool shows up.
All I need to say about, if you have any doubts about whether he really loved his daughter, after she got gassed at the end, she looked up at Natasha and just goes, "Is he gone?" It's just that those 3 words tell you all you need to know about their relationship.
My brain just went somewhere funny.
Whoa, God, what?
I want to see, while they're going through the multiverse, a Mickey Mouse super version. So, like, you have Mickey Mouse as...
You literally like a...
Yes!
Hey, like I said, everything is canon.
I want to see that happen now. But the question...
But then if Disney's going to do that, Warner Brothers needs to do something similar with the Looney Tunes in the DC superheroes.
I mean, we kind of sort of got that on Looney Tunes, where God, who was the duck character from Tiny Toons, where
Dodgers?
No. He was like the little kid, the green wife beater wearing duck from the show. I can't remember the
Duck.
Plucky, thank you. Where he somehow ended up as Batman's stunt double in the Tim Burton Batman film. Because literally, the Tim Burton Batman was in one particular episode, and he was literally his stunt man.
There's a Mickey Brady Mogo is a multiverse. There's a verse out there where Phineas and Ferb help the Avengers save the day.
That was an episode, remember?
I know. Again.
And there's probably a multiverse. Across multiple timelines in the multiverse, Rick and Morty is out there.
Yeah.
Everything is canon in Rick and Morty. Everything is now canon in the MCU with the multiverse. I'm just saying, Rick and Morty are out there somewhere.
When is the TARDIS going to show up?
It's only a matter of time. Somebody is probably already writing that. Already writing that fanfic.
Well, technically, Marvel.
The question is just which Doctor.
Well, Marvel was doing the Doctor Who comics at one point in time. I had the first issue in my room.
Now it's who's doing them now? It's like IDW or something, isn't it?
No, it's not IDW. They were doing it, but then the rights to the comics went to somebody else.
Okay, but actually, you know what? I asked the question which Doctor would show up, and the correct answer is all of them.
No, I would love to see it. Now, this is where things go really sideways. It needs to be, I think it's the 8th Doctor.
Paul McGann?
No.
9th Doctor, you mean Christopher Eccleston?
Is that the
one with the leather jacket?
No, the one after him.
Oh, 10th Doctor.
David Tennant.
David Tennant.
David Tennant needs to come up as the Doctor in front of Jessica Jones.
I was about to say. And Jessica Jones.
Hi, I'm the Doctor. Kill him!
And then
she just
and sends him flying across the room because of super strength.
I'm not entirely sure it'd be the first time he's been punched in the face, but whatever. Oh, so real quick, back to Black Widow, what did you guys think of Red Guardian? Do you think they underused him, or do you think?
I think this was just the right amount of usage. He is sort of past his prime kind of thing, and way too wrapped up in his own glory days.
Because the thing about
not
him,
realizing that his glory days are over and the world has passed him by.
Because the thing is that he was a super soldier during the Cold War, and he keeps talking about how he fought Captain America when he was already on ice.
Except we know that the U.S. government tried to make other Captain Americas.
Yeah, the black one.
Who's to say that's the only one?
I mean, there was that episode of the 90s Spider-Man cartoon where he met all the other super soldiers who were given the super soldier serum, but they had it through, like, the rings, and therefore they could turn it on and off as they pleased, but the problem was that it wasn't as... The serum didn't work on them quite the same way that it worked on Steve Rogers.
He didn't... Red Guardian did not fight Steve Rogers. He did fight Captain America.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
He fought a Captain America.
Correct.
God, we need to have, find some way to do, a prequel film set in, the 70s, where it shows Red Guardian fighting the Black Captain America, the one that Sam met.
Well, it depends on whether or not that's when Isaiah... Well, that's true. Isaiah Bradley did fight Winter Soldier in Korea, didn't he?
Yeah, Korean War was 60 or 70s, right?
No, that was in the 50s.
It was in the 50s?
Yes.
Oh, I thought
Vietnam War was the late 60s, early 70s.
So would it make more sense for it to be Vietnam then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is the history Bingecast today. So, I don't know. Like, I felt kind of anti about Black Widow because of the fact that the trailers kind of made it seem like something that
Like
wasn't.
they were going to be a big sort of supportive family.
I
And then it
wouldn't
turned
say
out...
supportive. I'd say kind of more than they were here, though. Because, like, well, Red Guardian gave zero fucks about everybody besides himself. You had the sisters.
Well, it's...
The only one that really cared about the family was the younger sister.
Was the Elena, yeah.
But then you had the mom who gave no care about anything anyways, and then it turned around towards the end.
It's more just...
Like, I was hoping for more.
With Melina and Alexei, they both viewed that sort of family. It's like, yeah, they did form some attachments, but at the end of the day, to those two, it was just another job.
Mm-hmm.
And Natasha and Yelena both saw that thing as one of the best times of their lives.
Like when she was talking about how for Christmas she, like, even though she knew that all the boxes
Well,
were
no,
empty.
it was for those photo shoots for the photo album.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't like they literally just did a
did
quote
full
unquote
holidays.
fake Christmas while they were living in Ohio. This was just so they, if somebody happened to come by the house and look through the photo album, they would find pictures that seemed to support the idea that they were
A normal family.
a normal family.
I mean, I kind of was thinking that the family was going to be kind of broken at the beginning, and then midway through they all get together, and then they all fought.
Incredibles assemble.
Practically. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still good. I'm glad they gave, Red,
Natasha.
no, not Natasha,
Red Guardian.
Red Guardian, the opportunity to fight Taskmaster.
And
Even
they
though he got his ass kicked.
But he still was able to stand up
This
to
is
him.
true. It's like he kept getting his ass kicked and he just kept getting back
Back
up.
up, yeah.
I can do
Which
this
at
all
the end
day.
of the yeah, I was about to say that at the end of the day is what Captain America basically was.
Yep.
It's just like I can do this all day.
And the fact that he kept getting back up, and the sequences at that point in time, everything started gelling at the end. But
Yeah.
I feel like they kind of
Well, they did sort of show. It's like Melina and Alexei both did have some good memories about about the Ohio assignment, but they were still just sort of like I'm doing this because the party says so, sort of thing, or the Red Room says so, basically. But they did sort of show that they did still care about the girls. They do still care about each other. It's just they were much more distant about it. And as a matter of fact, and I brought this up while we were watching it the other night, while you were watching it, the scene where Red Guardian, he starts telling the story about when his father made toilet on his hands to Yelena, who's just like tells him to get out. It's like at that point he finally seems to realize all these stories about me aren't working, and that's when he starts singing American Pie to her, which had been her favorite song in Ohio. And you see her finally start smiling. That scene hadn't been in the script originally. Red Guardian was just going to be an asshole for the whole movie, but the actor
David Harbour,
basically when talked to the director, is just sort of like he's not coming across with any sympathy at all, and he proposed putting in the scene where he like sings her favorite song back to her. So then they had to go back and add the bit at the beginning where he plugs the cassette into the radio and it starts playing so that it could have the callback later. And just that moment alone made it finally made it clear that he did care about her. He does care about her. He does love her. He's just really, really bad at expressing it. And it wasn't until he gave his whole heartfelt speech to who he thought was Natasha, surprised it's actually Melina, and then when he tries to give the speech again, she's like, "You don't have earpiece." He finally seems to realize, okay, maybe I should just stop.
Because like right at the end of the film, right after the Red Room has been destroyed, Taskmaster has been freed, along with all the widows that were already inside the Red Room. And then, like, he just decides to basically just bask in the moment with everybody and keeps his mouth shut.
Well, yeah, they even, it's like Natasha or Yelena even asked him, it's like, aren't you going to say anything? He's like, I would just screw it up. He finally seemed to want to.
Because it's funny because he was kind of doing the same thing when he was in the gulag, when he's arm wrestling everybody, and then...
There he was. Captain America. Yeah, it's like, something I didn't notice until the second time seeing that scene. You could see all the prisoners sort of mumbling it along with him, just sort of like, here he goes again.
Telling the same
But
story.
it's like, if you want to arm wrestle him, you have to put up with him telling his story. And then Ursa made the dumb mistake of trying to call him on his bullshit. Trying to call
it's like, wasn't Captain America frozen in the 70s?
Are you calling me a liar, Ursa? BAM! Breaks his wrist.
So does that mean that he fought Steve Rogers that went back in time?
I don't think so. Like I said, it was probably a Captain America, not the Captain America.
But yeah, oh yeah, that's another thing. So apparently the guy Ursa Major is supposed to be the MCU's first mutant.
Well, in the comics, he's a mutant.
Yeah.
Here in the MCU, he is just a big dude. We saw nothing to suggest that he can turn into a bear. Because honestly, if you're wrestling of the Russian super soldier, and you don't basically turn into like bear mode to try to be able to beat him, then you don't have any powers in the first place.
Well, I mean, yeah, they didn't like. I don't really know if whether he actually had. They didn't. Yeah, they haven't confirmed if he has his powers or not. Because I know that in the comics, Ursa Major is a part of basically the Russian version of the Avengers. And the team is actually able to take on the Avengers. Like, you have Red Guardian, you have Crimson Dynamo, you have Ursa Major, who can turn into a bear, and he's actually able to go toe-to-toe with characters like the Hulk. He can fight Wolverine. So he does have the strength behind him. But seeing as how they didn't establish this, unless... The only thing I can think of is that Red Guardian caught him off guard. That's the only thing that I can think of.
I mean...
Plus, he did kind of piss off Red Guardian, and that's the reason why out of everybody, he was the only guy whose arm he broke.
Well, yeah, it's literally because Alexei does not like being called a liar.
But it seems like the only people that he'll let punch him in the face is Yelena and Natasha, and that's it.
Well, the first time it just sort of caught him by surprise, but and then he sort of got grossed out when they started describing about how they no longer have...
He's like, okay.
You don't need to get so clinical and nasty.
He's like, I was about to get the...
I hadn't even mentioned the fallopian tubes. Alexei gave a lot of humor in the movie.
Yeah.
Granted, Yelena had plenty of humor herself. Just like... When she's in the helicopter and she sees the avalanche bearing down on them, she's like, this would be a cool way to die.
I gotta say...
And then, which gets the callback later in the Red Room when she's tied to a gurney and they've drawn like the dotted line on her forehead about where they're going to do the incision. She's like, this is a much less cool way to die.
I gotta say, I'm honestly hoping that Dave Harbour had a lot more fun doing this film than what he did with Hellboy. Because from what I heard, he actually walked off the set in full Hellboy makeup because he was pissed off at the director. Because they couldn't decide what direction they wanted to take the film in. They're like, are we making this a comedy? Are we making it a horror film? What are we doing here? And because of all the decisions that they couldn't make during the film, he just got pissed off and walked off the set.
Talking of Hellboy, I've made this comment on social media. I'll go ahead and say it again here. If they do make Mephisto a thing in the MCU, it's going to happen at some point. But when they do, it needs to be played by Ron Perlman.
Which character was it again?
Mephisto.
I could see him doing it.
I want them to do a joke like when he first gets introduced, he's got a big giant like stone hand on his hand, and then he just sort of pulls it off. It's just a gauntlet. He's like, and have him make some crack about how I heard gauntlets were all the rage. And then just like have him like chuck it across the room and then never mention it again.
Or he could be wearing like a jacket that's supposed to look like his Hellboy one, but made to fit him and not like him in full Hellboy outfit.
Yeah. However they decide to do Mephisto, even if they decide to do it like CG him, like they did Dormammu or Surtur, but have Ron Perlman do the voice.
So, since we're talking about the multiverse, does this mean that the Transformers is now canon with Marvel again?
Sure.
Because they did the Transformers comics back in like the 80s.
Okay, but except the rights to Transformers right now is with Paramount, isn't it?
No, I think distributing rights, yes, but I think Hasbro still has the full.
Well, that's yes. Hasbro has the full rights to it, but the movies were done by Paramount.
But here's the funny thing, though. When Marvel still had the rights to the Transformers comics, they actually did create an original character for those comics that nobody else can use for the character. So I'm like, okay, so could Marvel still technically use this character at some point in time, just not have to use it for, Transformers?
He was probably in the background in The Void in episode 5 of Loki. Because he's a variant of some kind, and they just were just sort of like, nope, yoink.
For those of you who've read the Transformers comics, you probably, hopefully, know who I'm talking about.
But there's we could talk for hours about and speculate about all the stuff with Phase 4 and everything, but at the end of the day,
what are you looking forward to in Phase 4?
All of it. I like the MCU movies, and I like the TV shows that they've been doing. So I'm very much curious to see how they're going to integrate all of it. Especially, I like the TV shows because they're able to explore certain aspects of the universe that they've created that they can't really dedicate any time to in a 2-hour movie, like the aftermath of the snap and the blip in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and also in WandaVision. Because that's the sort of thing, it's like they wouldn't really be able to give too much time for that in a 2-hour movie, but over the course of a longer TV series, or even if it's a limited run series, they are able to put that extra time in there. But it's when they start introducing characters that were introduced in the Marvel Plus shows into the movies. That's where I'm curious to see how they're going to handle that, because you cannot assume that everybody who goes to see the movies has seen the TV shows.
Yeah, because I know that my dad isn't going to see the TV shows. He's not going to see Falcon, Winter Soldier, WandaVision, or Loki. I know he's not going to see any of that. So whenever these upcoming movies are coming out, and if he watches them, I probably have to sit there and explain to him, you need to watch, for the multiverse stuff, just WandaVision and Loki. You kind of don't really need to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier for that. Until
the new Captain America turns up in some future movie.
Mm-hmm.
But Kang is going to be the interesting one, because we know he's in Quantumania.
Yep.
And how they sort of handled him introducing him there is gonna tell the story, I think. Valentina turning up in Black Widow, because had everything been released on time before the pandemic happened, Black Widow would have been first before any of the Marvel Plus stuff.
Yeah, because that's where Madame Hydra was supposed to make her debut.
Right, but instead, because everything got pushed back, or at least all the theatrical releases got pushed back, we got WandaVision and then Falcon and Winter Soldier, and now it's so it sort of got handled differently. But there, her different introductions just didn't really. It's not really that important to explain who she was in the Stinger, because you pick up enough in context to know that it's like, okay, Elena's got some new job working for this presumably government person, but shady government person, because she wants her to kill Clint Barton. But we like Clint. What's going on? Why is she targeting an Avenger? That's.
So she probably has her own agenda for it, and that's
yes.
the reason why she wants the Elena to kill him.
Well, but the way that they were talking implies that Yelena and Valentina had already knew each other at that point. So they clearly, and we don't know what happened to Yelena, Alexei, and Melina in the snap. But if I had to guess, they got snapped. It would explain a lot about Natasha's mental state when we see her post-snap in Endgame after the 5-year skip.
Basically, she probably found out that Yelena was one of the people who got dusted.
And I'm guessing, that Melina and Red Guardian were also snapped.
Possibly, but at the time, do you really think she gave a shit about... Well, I mean... Never mind, I forgot that it takes place... that Black Widow takes place before Infinity War.
Yeah.
I had to remember that for a second.
I think that goes a lot to explaining her mental state. And if I'm also going to guess a lot of the other widows probably got snapped also.
Possibly.
And that would explain a lot about her mental state and why she was willing to sacrifice herself. It's like, I'm doing this so that they can all have that second chance again, kind of thing.
But now she's permadead.
Now she's permadead. And I think she understood that.
Because she did say that, or they did say that the only people who were brought back was everybody who got snapped. Now, somebody had died.
Like Loki, like Black Widow.
All the Asgardians that were killed on the ship. Yeah, none of them were brought back.
Nope. Any of the Wakandan forces that got killed trying to hold off the Outriders in the Battle of Wakanda, they're dead.
Yeah. All that was pretty much savage. I did like how Black Widow, it explains how she got that vest.
Yeah, the vest.
It has lots of pockets. You put lots of stuff in them.
And then she just gives it to her at the end of the movie. I was half expecting to see Elena turn up wearing another vest in the Stinger, but instead she's just wearing like regular clothes.
I can't remember if Black Widow was wearing that vest when she and Clint went to go get the Soul Stone.
I don't know. I don't remember either. She was definitely wearing it in Infinity War.
Oh yeah, you saw it clear as day in that.
But yeah, there's... Now I gotta sort of look up like what other Phase 4 stuff is upcoming.
The Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special.
Okay, I'm curious. I am curious.
Where they got to get Groot back to his home planet in time for Life Day.
I was about to say, the man who does not want to watch anything Star Wars related holiday special is excited for Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. We don't see anything bad happening here, do we, folks?
Stop talking.
Oh, I also found out. So apparently they dumped a whole lot of like deleted scenes for Endgame onto Disney Plus, and one of the things that they put on there was apparently the scene where Hawkeye and Black Widow were on. What was the planet that they had to go to for the Soul Stone?
Vormir.
Apparently the Chitauri were there.
Okay.
And the scene was supposed to be them essentially trying to fight off the Chitauri, all while Black Widow was also trying to sacrifice herself. So
I'm kind of glad they didn't put that in because honestly, I think it would have cheapened things somewhat.
Yeah,
it would have. It's much more dramatic the way they did it. But other Phase 4 things. We got Shang-Chi in September,
which has Wong and Abomination in it.
and we're gonna get introduced to the Mandarin, the real Mandarin.
Yeah, but we're not gonna have like the Mandarin who has the freaking rings.
Ben Kingsley.
No. I was talking about like the one who has the rings on each of his hand. Who...
Instead, they're more like bracelets rather than like finger rings. Which honestly, I'm fine with them sort of adjusting it that way. It makes more sense.
So
especially with the whole martial arts theme that they're going with.
Yeah, I'm hoping that.
But I'm just seeing the rings in that trailer just made me think of the guy from Kung Fu Hustle, one of the.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
One of the lost masters that was hiding out in the slum.
And he had all those rings on.
It was the dry cleaner.
I remember it.
The very fey dry cleaner.
And it turned out he was a badass.
Well, it turned out they were all badass. The coolie, the baker, and the tailor. He was the tailor. That's right. It wasn't like a dry cleaner. It was a tailor. And then, surprise, at the end, it turns out that the landlord and the landlady are also badass martial artists.
Well, the landlady, we kind of knew that already because everybody was
screaming.
Well, because everybody was scared of her.
Well, I mean, yeah. That was a great movie. I want Kung Fu Hustle too. Damn it.
Supposedly they are working on it.
We've got Eternals.
Well, it's funny because I know in Eternals they're like, oh, we've stayed hidden for so long and haven't interfered in anything up until now. So it's just like, is it because of the multiversal war that's about to happen? Is that the reason why you decided to come out?
I pulled up the MCU page on TV Tropes because it has a pretty good list of everything that's been announced. But there is actually a blurb here about Eternals. It says, in the wake of the events of Avengers Endgame, an immortal race of superpowered beings known as the Eternals, which has secretly been assisting humanity for thousands of years, are forced to come out of hiding to defend the Earth from their ancient enemy, the Deviants.
Okay. I'm not entirely familiar with the Eternals characters from the comics because
Same.
I never saw any Eternals comics when I was a kid.
Yeah. And then we've got two Marvel Plus series coming out later this year.
Armor Wars.
Hawkeye and Ms. Marvel.
That is the one Marvel thing I cannot wait for besides Spider-Man.
Miss Marvel.
Oh, I've always been a big fan of Miss Marvel.
Kamala Khan?
But Kamala Khan is an excellent...
Because it does say here, based on the Kamala Khan incarnation. So.
She is an excellent character to look around. Let me back up real quick. I've always been a big fan of the fanboy. That's one of my favorite superheroes.
Of the fan who made good, sort of thing?
Kind of. Like, my favorite superhero, every superhero besides Batman, of course, is Viewable Joe.
And Chinagogo, baby.
Because he was a Captain Blue fanboy.
Yeah.
And he got his own
henshin device.
His own V-Watch, everything. It's the exact same feeling that I get when I think of Miss Marvel. She was
an Avengers fangirl.
A fangirl completely, and the fact that they show that purity of love for that, and then she becomes what she loves the most.
She becomes an Avenger.
It brings you such hope, especially in a world nowadays where when you get a job and you get responsibility, it just kind of crushes you, and you want that hope, that feeling that she has.
You want. It's like she is so innocent and pure. She must be protected at all costs.
And it's like that's one of the things I look forward to because she is.
We need a symbol of hope.
Yes, we do.
Other things that they have like actual dates here for. We've got then Spider-Man: No Way Home in December. We know that Zeke is looking forward to that.
Yes. Well, remember, Spider-Man's on number 3 don't usually end very well.
Yeah, but this one
We only have one other, Spider-Man 3 to base this off of.
Because the other one didn't be made.
That one was never made because Andrew Garfield got fired.
Yes, but there was no Amazing Spider-Man 3, so we don't know. We don't know that it would have continued the curse. But fingers crossed, right?
I still look forward to it. Cause
yes,
especially since the directors of that, it's like, yeah, don't count Venom out yet. It's like, wait, what? What? Wait.
That's going to be the stinger in Spider-Man and No Way Home.
You got to remember what Sony said when the first Venom film came out. It was, remember how they were saying...
That makes you so salty?
Yes, because everything that they had said prior to that actually got me really excited for it, because I know that Venom is technically he's not what you'd want to call a very nice superhero. Like, come on, he eats
He's an anti-hero.
He's an anti-hero,
yeah. He eats people. He knows how to torture Spider-Man, stuff like that.
The worst part about this, I've been a big Venom fan, but I never understood when the whole eating people became a thing.
So here's the thing, though. Venom has to live off of like a particular chemical that is typically found in the human brain, right? So a lot of like criminals and whatever, he just eats them. It's like when
did that start?
When he moved to San Francisco.
Oh, so it's during Lethal Protector?
Yes.
Okay. Because I don't remember hearing anything about that during Civil War doing anything else. Like, I never heard of him.
That's very much like a case of depending on the writer. Some writers are like, I don't like this aspect of his character, so I'm just going to ignore it.
And there's a particular apparently the same chemical is also found in this particular chocolate that Eddie Brock likes. So Eddie Brock eats it as a snack to essentially so that way Venom can live on. That explains that scene in the trailer for Venom. Let There Be Carnage, where he gets upset over the chocolate not being delivered on time, and he goes, "I will eat Mrs. Chen." He's like, "No, you will not eat Mrs. Chen." What? Nothing.
I'm sorry, and chocolate's gonna be late. What?
See, there's an actual reason for why Venom got so upset about that.
Oh my god.
So that is supposed to reference that chocolate.
This is why we have the Wellek of Knowledge here.
Yeah.
For little bits of information like this.
So that is supposed to essentially be the reason why Venom got upset over that chocolate not being there. It's not because, I like the taste of chocolate. No, it's because of what's in the chocolate that he lives off of. And so, anyways, so is Sony going back in terms of saying, oh, we're going to make it rated R, it's going to be essentially a horror film, Venom's going to eat people, and then they go back and
it's like not
like a week before the movie got released, they go and lower it to a PG-13 rating and take like 15 minutes out of the film, which turned out to be a lot of Tom Hardy's favorite scenes got removed out of the film. And they said, oh, we're doing this in case we ever want to have a crossover with taking Venom and putting him into the MCU with Marvel. I'm like, so why didn't you do that to begin with? Like, Marvel knows what they're doing. Michael Keaton, goddamn Batman, openly said while he was on the set of Homecoming, he said Marvel is a well-oiled machine. They know what they are doing in terms of their movies. So I'm sure he was like, where was this when we were going to work on the third Batman film before Tim and I walked away from that? Or no, because Warner Brothers bought out everybody's contracts. That's the reason why. But Tim walked away from Batman 3. So I'm like, Sony, just give the rights up already.
It's like, seriously, Sony, if you make a deal with Marvel so you get a significant cut of the profits, you'll be set.
Yeah.
The money will just pour in.
Like,
because if you play ball with them and let them use the Spider-Man property, they will just give you, the movies will be successful, the TV shows or whatever they decide to do with Spider-Man will be successful. Money will literally just be falling into your lap. And you don't have to do anything apart from sign some paperwork.
Because one of the movies that Sony was planning on doing, and I'm so glad this project got canceled, was they were going to have a team-up film with Silver Sable and Black Cat, and they were going to call it Black and Silver. I am so glad that project got canceled.
Okay.
Because the idea for that just sounded horrible.
I mean, it can't be any worse than the female Green Arrow spin-off where they're doing the Birds of Prey of that.
Oh, Artemis?
No. Remember? Oh, wait. Yeah, never mind.
I kind of stopped watching.
Yeah, we pushed that back because, like, hey, it's supposed to be Artemis, but it's not Artemis. It's just his daughter in the future.
I mean, like, I kind of came up with, like, my own idea in terms of how you could introduce the symbiotes. Not necessarily Venom, but the symbiotes into the MCU. Have the Collector hire... We didn't see a body, so I don't want to hear it. Have the Collector essentially hire the Guardians to go and collect a symbiote for him to add to his collection. Because he's like, oh, well, you don't really see a whole lot of these around. I want one for the collection. So have the Guardians show up to the symbiote homeworld, or God forbid, a big-ass asteroid, because we know that's where symbiotes like to hide from time to time, and have it be a straight-up, like, turn it into a horror movie when they land. It goes from comedy to horror, and you see members of the Guardians essentially become infected by symbiotes like Groot and Rocket. Like, have Groot be the first one be infected.
I am Groot.
And then have Rocket just lose his absolute mind after that. Like, him just start shooting at the symbiotes like, no! And then just start going off after that.
Full John Rambo.
But then,
Tracks.
like have it
venomized.
Yeah, and then have it to where it's like this. They need to know, like, what are the symbiotes' weaknesses. Have them figure out, oh, they don't like sounds. They don't like, or they don't like fire. They don't like the high pitched noises. Have that, and then have it to where like after everything is all said and done, they manage to bring a symbiote back for the Collector, and then have them say, "Oh well, we need to go back to Earth for something," and then
surprise, there's
a symbiote hiding on board the Milano, but it's waiting. Like it's not. It sees how the Guardians have acted, and it knows not to essentially act on its own yet. So it goes. So they go to Earth. They land for whatever reason. You can add whatever reason they're back on Earth, and then the symbiote plops off and then makes its way around, and then somehow finds its way to Peter Parker.
I don't like that one.
I mean,
like I said, that's what I would want to
say. The main reason why is after I found out there was another way he was made, I kind of like that way better.
Is that the one where it turns out the reason why he's so crazy is because he ended up on Deadpool first?
Oh no, so that was still Alien Symbiote. I think in the Ultimate Universe, Venom was
the
blood,
cure for cancer.
It was the blood of Parker.
It was a combination of Peter Parker, or no, not Peter Parker, Richard Parker, and Eddie Brock Sr. Because Eddie Brock Jr. was friends with Peter Parker when they were growing up.
Yep, and that's one I like that one where they actually make the symbiote planet side, and it just kind of got its own consciences, I guess.
I could see that working. If you played the Spider-Man game, the Ultimate Spider-Man video game that came out for, I know it came out for the GameCube, but I can't remember if it was on any other system. Venom for that was based off of, because it's supposed to take place in the continuity of the Ultimate Spider-Man comics. The Venom that's based off that is that Venom, and his health throughout his parts of the game gradually goes down. You have to tentacle people, pull them in, and he drains them of whatever it is that he's living off of, and then spits them back out afterwards.
Yeah. But
there's just a whole lot on the slate for Marvel stuff that's going to give us with the Marvelcast plenty of material. I think we're sort of wrapping up here. We've sort of tapped out on ideas. Next thing that we'll be doing for Marvelcast will be What If. We will be trying to go back to doing that once, an episode a week as it airs. We didn't do it for Loki because real life kind of got in the way. We didn't.
Well, plus there's 6 episodes. We could have talked about that.
Yeah, but
there was supposed to be a Loki Black Widow chat. I think most of our chat's been Venom, Spider-Man, and Spider-Verse.
Well, multiverse
stuff in general, and I kind of saw that coming. So, but yeah, it's just because Loki essentially opened up the multiverse. Literally, yes. Thanks a lot, Sylvie.
It's funny because I kept looking at Loki, and I was like, so when are the Time Lords gonna step in?
I mean, they sort of did. They're called the TVA in this.
No, I'm just actual Time Lords.
I know. But as I joked earlier, it's just sort of eventually, the TARDIS will land on Earth, and it's which Doctor shows up? All of them.
Yeah.
Because why not? Multiverse, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that'll wrap up this edition of the Marvelcast. It's been a good little Wrapcast, more of a Ramblecast, really. But so for Chris and Zeke, I am Jay, and we will see you when we start covering What If in a few weeks. So until then, bye.
Thanks for listening to the Bored to Death Bingecast. Be sure to check out our library of past podcasts via CKCC Radio or via our YouTube channel, and give us a like and subscribe. We'll see you after our next binge.